Hello, children, welcome back. Today we're going to learn about the poem The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost. So, Robert Frost is an American poet who writes about simple, common, and ordinary experiences. This poem has a very deep meaning, and it is about the right choice we make in life. So, many times in our lives, we are faced with different options. It is often difficult to decide which option to choose. But then the decision we take will influence our future. So now I'm going to explain to you this poem line by line. Listen carefully. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood. So the first line, the poet says, one morning the poet was walking down and he found himself in a yellow wood. Now what is a yellow wood? Wood is forest. Yellow wood refers to the autumn season where the leaves are yellow, and he was walking in this particular forest and he comes across two paths. Okay, diverged in a yellow wood. What's the meaning of diverged? Diverged means separated or forked. F-O-R-K-E-D, forked. And there were two different directions there. So he was standing there, and sorry I could not travel both. So the poet was a single traveler, and obviously he could not travel by both the roads. He felt sorry that he could not travel by both the roads. He had to take a decision, and he had to choose one road or one path. The third line, and be one traveler, long I stood. So the poet says that he was alone, he was a single individual. And he stood there for a long time looking at both these roads and looked down one as far as I could. Now the fourth line. So he tried to look at the roads as far as he could see because he wanted to know more about the path or the roads. Then come to where it bent in the undergrowth, the fifth line of the first stanza. But then he could not see anything beyond the diversion as the roads were carved and it was covered with trees and was also hidden. So he could see only up to a certain point. Undergrowth. What is undergrowth? What is the meaning of undergrowth? Undergrowth is the dense growth of plants or bushes. So the roads, both the roads he could not see much, only till where it was curved, and then both the roads were hidden with the bushes and the trees. So that's your first stanza. Now coming to the second stanza, that is the sixth line. So now the poet in the fifth line, the first stanza, he says, so he could not see anything beyond a certain point. And so what does this tell us, this first stanza? So this first stanza tells us, and the poet wants to convey that all of us have a time in our lives when we have to make choices. So we may have alternatives, but we can choose only one option after weighing the pros and cons. So similarly, the poet is also taking some time before making a decision. That's your first stanza. Now coming to the second stanza, the sixth line. Then took the other just as fair. So then he decides to take the other road, the other path. That is the second one, just as fair. What's the meaning of just as fair? So it was as good as the other one, and having perhaps the better claim. Now line 7, he says that both the roads were equally good, both the paths were equally good, and maybe one had a better claim, one was better. And then he says in verse line 8, because it was grassy and wanted wear. So he says one of the roads was looking very grassy and wanted wear. So what is the meaning of wanted wear? Wanted wear means that particular road had not been used by many people. So he was looking at the second road, and he is now talking to us about the second road, and he says that the second road was grassy. It was not used by many people. It had a better claim. It was not used by many people, and many people had not travelled by the other road, that is the second road. Then he says, though as for that the passing there, line 9, he says, so he took the decision to travel by the second road, and then after walking for some time, for some distance on that road, what does he feel? Had warned them really about the same, line 10, stanza 2. And after walking about for some distance on that road, he feels that both the roads were almost the same. So, through this second stanza, what is the poet trying to convey? So, he's trying to tell us that whatever choice or decision we take in our lives, it has advantages as well as disadvantages, and we should be ready to face all kinds of problems. Now, the third stanza, and both that morning equally lay. The 11th line. So, the poet says that both the roads were similar, that morning equally lay. Both the roads were similar. In leaves no step had trodden black. Verse line 12. In leaves no step had trodden black. So he says about the second road, and he says that leaves were on both sides of the road, and nobody had walked on the road. Nobody had walked on those leaves. They were still green. So if somebody had walked over those leaves, they would have all turned black. So he says nobody had walked on that road because the leaves were still not spoiled and become black. And then he says, oh, I kept the first for another day. That's line 13. He says that he chose the second road on that particular day. Why did he choose the second road? Because he said it was less traveled by people. It was not used by many people. So he wanted some adventure, and he decides to take the second road, which was less used or less traveled by people. And then he says that he decided to keep the first road for some other time. Yet knowing how way leads on to way. Now line 14. So he fully well knew that one way leads to the other. Just like how we have to follow a particular direction to reach a particular place. So we keep walking ahead. We never come back, or we never retrace our steps back. We know that way leads on to way, and we keep walking ahead. I doubted if I should ever come back. That line 15 of the third stanza, he says he could not go back on the road now, okay, and take the first road again. But then he had to continue with the same second road, okay. So once we make a choice, we have to face the consequences or the problems, because whatever choice is made, we have to face the consequences. If the choice is right, it's fine. But if the choice is wrong, we also have to face the problems. And then the last stanza, I shall be telling this with a sigh. That is line number 16. So the poet says, in future, he will be telling with a sigh. What? Well, sigh means what? He will be taking a deep breath. Okay? And what will he be saying with a sigh? Somewhere, ages and ages hence. The next line, line 17, he says that once upon a time. So, he will be telling this sometime in his life, that once upon a time, he reached a particular place, a yellow wood, and there were two roads. So, he had to take a decision about choosing which road to travel. So, he would be telling this. In life, we have to make choices. Then two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and I took the one less traveled. So the next line, line 18. So he would say that there were two roads in a yellow wood, and he took the one that was less traveled. The next line, line 19, the road that was not used by many people. He decided to take the second road, which was not used by many people. And that has made all the difference. So he says that he chose the second road, and that was the decision he made, and that changed the entire course of his life. Now coming to the literary devices or the poetic devices, the rhyme scheme. What is the rhyme scheme here? A, B, A, B. Now then we have symbolism. Symbolism, that is the two roads, shows two or more choices, two or more options. Then we have alliteration, wanted where. Repetition, ages and ages, that is repeated, those two words. Then again, two roads diverged. That line is also being repeated in stanza 1 and stanza 4. Road is a symbol of the choice we make in life. Hope you have understood the poem. Thank you, children.